It's Christmas time and time for a carol.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, bitches.
Welcome to an all-new series from Better Multimedia. I'm calling Bourbon Bender. Essentially, I'm going to be reviewing all kinds of different bourbons and whiskeys from all over the globe and the country, and kind of giving you my unsolicited advice, 2 cents, and interesting thoughts about them. So, in order to kick things off, I figured it being the holiday season and all, that I would do one of those Bourbon Advent Calendars that some of you may have heard of. This particular Advent Calendar from Drinks by the Dram, an English company, so we'll see what their selection is like as far as bourbon goes. And I bought it from the Loch and Fyne Scottish whiskey store, and it showed up just in time for me to start these reviews, just a couple of days before December, so fortunately they had that all timed out. So much like many Advent calendars that have come before, this particular Advent calendar has 24 days all scripted out, but instead of punching out each day and discovering a hidden toy to play with, you discover a hidden toy for adults in the form of whiskey. There will be a different bourbon behind every single door. The list was available online, but I didn't want to spoil things in the spirit of discovery, so I figured I would keep it a mystery, even to me, and find out at the same time that you guys do, and kind of just give an honest review or just a little bit of information about each bourbon as I try it out, as each day goes on up until Christmas, at which point I might do like a special Christmas episode of some rare bourbon. So I guess, being that this is the first day of December, it's about time that we break into this guy and find out exactly what they have in store for us. So it is going to be all American bourbons. It's going to be an ounce each, so not a whole lot to go around, but enough to taste, 24 ounces. So I'm going to be drinking out of this Norland whiskey glass. This is not a plug, but I just got a set of these from somebody and I wanted to try them out. So we'll see how that goes. Now, one thing I have noticed about this particular Advent calendar is that it is not in any rational order as far as like where the windows were put. So it's kind of like a game all on its own, just trying to find the correct window for the correct day. So we got to find number 1 here. And I know you're out there. Ah, here it is. All right. So I finally found it here. So I'm going to go ahead and break in and figure out, what we're dealing with today. So just go in here and it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Ah, there we go. Let it go. There we go. Yes. So this is a bourbon that we're all familiar with. It's the Bullet Frontier Whiskey, 10-year-old. It's a fitting bourbon to be the first that I will be drinking because it was one of the first bourbons I ever had, and in my opinion is a very good entry-level bourbon. So, nothing too fancy for the initial extraction, as it were. So I'm gonna pour some out and give it a try, even though I've had it before, but I'll be able to tell everybody what I think of it now, after all these long years. The bottle actually makes it look a little bigger than it is. So be warned that these bottles are deceptively small, but they are indeed 1 fluid ounce, or 3 centiliters. Yeah, 3 centiliters actually. No, it's centiliters. No, but there's centiliters, which would be, 1,000 liters? So 3,000... No, because a liter is a lot. Anyway, 1,000th of a liter. Anyway, so it's listed as 3 centiliters on this bottle, which I guess is how the Europeans keep track of this kind of thing. But it is 1 fluid ounce or so, 1.1 fluid ounces by our way of measuring, the correct way in America, where we invented whiskey. And the bottles are a little clumsy to pour out of, as I just dribbled a little bit, so just, be aware of that. Make sure that you have a firm grasp on things. It's a pretty decent sized, shot, if you want to do a shot. Actually, it's a new party game in the holidays. Everybody picks a number, and then they all shoot it back at the same time. Bulleit bourbon is, or as they call it, frontier whiskey, despite definitely being bourbon, is a high rye bourbon from Lawrenceville, Kentucky, produced at the Four Roses Distillery for the Diego Beverage Conglomerate, which makes a lot of mainstream liquors and vodkas and whiskeys and things like that to be sold in the U.S. It's as far as bourbons go, it's not really my favorite. A lot of that stems from the fact that it is like a mass-produced product, so it doesn't really have some of the history that a lot of the even Four Roses brands, but like brands like Brown-Forman Company or the Jim Beam distilleries, or Buffalo Trace for that matter, Four Roses is a very reputable brand, but Bulleit whiskey is kind of like a far cry from like any Four Roses label. So, bottoms up, but I'm not really pumped about this particular one. Yeah, so despite being a 10-year aged straight bourbon, that is a very rough drinking experience. You are going to get a lot of heat off of it on the back end. So it does burn a little bit. Like even now I can still feel like coating my throat, and I feel like I'm going to be talking a lot deeper for the rest of this episode. But, if I were to be drinking this on an ordinary basis, I think I'd probably drink it with rocks, if anything. It is high rye, which does lend to a lot of that heat. But in general, it's just a very rough around the edges bourbon, considering the age statement on the bottle. Like, I guess if I had to give it a review, I would say, Bulleit out of 10, I would give it like a 3-star rating, 3.5 almost. Like, it's on the low end of enjoyment. It's better than like a Jack Daniels, or I guess it's probably better than like a Jim Beam Original or the Rebel Yells and things like that, but it wouldn't be on my Christmas list, so I'm glad we got that one out of the way early. So anyway, we're going to be doing 24 different episodes for each day leading up to Christmas, going over each bourbon as we unveil it. It's going to be a journey for me and for you guys, and hopefully we'll be able to get every episode out in a timely fashion. Check back with me tomorrow, and I'll be going over the next bourbon out of this box, which will be day 2. What's it going to be? Nobody knows. Only the shadow knows, and the people who packed this box, which I presume are shadowy characters. This is just the beginning of this new series, Bourbon Bender. We will be having more episodes with different whiskeys. I've compiled quite a bit of a collection in the last couple of years, and I want to bring more content to this YouTube channel and really kind of push this idea out there. Might even have some special guests here and there. But in general, it's just going to be about bourbon and whiskey and tasting and kind of trying to share with you guys what I think of each spirit as I drink it down. So until next time, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or night. And if you enjoy it with a glass of bourbon, then you're going to be all right. And I just made that up. Merry Christmas.